today we're going to just take a look at how we can use our calculator when we are deciding on graphing linear inequalities, systems of linear inequalities, or systems of equations. So just kind of making sure we're able to review how we do that when dealing with our calculator, how we use that tool to help us with that. To do that, I've got some problems right here. So notice we've got the sketch the graph of the linear inequality, the system of inequalities, and just a system of equations. Okay, so let's start with these two right here first. So let's just jump right into it. Okay, now on your calculator, there's two ways we can get to the graph. The first one is the Scratchpad Graph. Okay, I can either choose it from the home screen, or let's say that I have a document open and I wanted to, I can hit that button. You can't really see the red. If you look on the left there, I can toggle between the calculator and the graph. But honestly, I prefer not to use that one. That's not my favorite. Okay, instead I prefer to create a new document to do that. So I can create a new document by clicking on that. Then I can add my graph. I don't know why that likes to do that to me. Okay, so now we should notice this first thing up here is that we've got this set up in function notation. Okay, which is great if we're graphing functions, or if, you know, like something like this, even though it's y, it would still work. Okay, so first thing we probably want to do is want to get it into a different format. So the easiest way to do that is to just hit delete from that equal sign, and then notice I've got some inequalities, or I can just go down and choose the generic relation right there. Okay, so that's kind of the easiest option that I can go with at this point. So, but you can get to it other ways as well. Let's go back to current number 4. Okay, so I can hit menu, and I can go to graph entry edit, and I can choose either function or relation. There's a bunch of others, but we won't get into those. So that's, that's another way that I can toggle between the two. Just go in number 3, entry edit, and switching it to relation. Okay, it's also, if I don't have my entry bar up there, that's a way that I can get that to show up as well. Okay, remember the shortcut is hitting Control, then hitting G. Okay, that's the other way to do that. All right, so that should cover that. Now let's take a look at what one we want to graph. So I get right here, and I just type in the graph the way I see it. So we've got 2x plus y is greater than -5. So I type in 2x plus y. Now it was greater than, right? Yep. So to get my greater than, less than signs, I hit Control and the equal sign there. By the way, if you didn't notice, off to, when I'm looking at trying to see what buttons I'm using, okay, you can just see there on the calculator, okay, in red. That's the buttons I've hit. Okay, all right, so greater than -5. So we greater than, not minus, -5. Okay, and then if that's all I'm graphing, I just hit enter. Okay, and we see our graph. Now, two things we have to pay attention to about the solution, right, is we need to know if our line is solid or dotted, and we need to know which side is shaded. Well, it's very easy to see which side is shaded. It's the right side, not the left side. But it's hard to tell if it's solid or dotted. And it's kind of weird. The calculator does something weird here, because right now it looks like it's solid. However, looking at this, it's not equal to, so I know it should be dotted. Okay, because that's less than or greater than. Okay, whereas if it's less than or greater than or equal to, that's when it's solid. So I can just look at my equation, my inequality I should say, and judge from that. Or usually if I kind of click around, sometimes it'll do it. It's weird. Sometimes I can get it to change it, other times not. Like if I use the mouse, see, now I got it to somehow switch off. So for some reason, sometimes it does that, and I'm not sure why. Okay, but I can definitely see now that it is a dotted line, right? Now remember, that's my solution, right? Is that shaded and dotted line. Okay, so if I were answering this question, I would then, sketch the graph however I need to and shade that area, and I'd probably have a graph that I could do that on. Okay, or if all I needed was 1 point, then I can just pick 1 point in the shaded area and write that down to show where my solution is. Okay. Now, something neat that you can do if you're trying to pick out points is if I hit Menu and go down to View and then down to Grid, I can actually change it to either a dot grid or a line grid. And it looks like that, and that's a great way, to help me tell what points here I can use when I'm graphing. Okay, so that's a really, really nice tool that you can do. Also, if I need to, well, we'll do that maybe on the others if something comes up that we need to change the window. Okay, so that's all I do. So now if I need to graph another one, I can just hit Control G and go up here, and delete this graph, and then graph my next one, which is y is greater than or equal to 1/4 x plus 1. So again, type in y, then Control equals, and then choose greater than or equal to. Then my fraction is the button next to 9. Hit enter on that. 1/4. Now, some people will put the x right there because they think, oh, 1/4 x. But notice it's 1/4 times x, not 1/4 times x. Okay? So make sure that after you hit your fraction, you press over. Then I can do the x and then the plus 1. So you got to make sure it looks right, or else it's going to give you a really crazy answer. And I can show you after we graph this one what it'll look like. Hit enter again, and there we go. Now I should realize that this is equal to, so my line is solid, but I can see exactly what my graph is, and I know the shaded area is where the solutions are. Okay. So that's all we got to do to graph inequalities. Okay, pretty easy. Let me show you again what it would look like if we messed up that x. So if I put the x on the bottom, then what we end up with is this ugly looking guy, which is a rational function, which is not what we want. Okay. All right, so that's all we do to graph those. Now, what if we're graphing, so that's those two. Now, what if we're graphing a system of inequalities? Well, we just take both of these and we graph them together. Okay, so again, if I needed to, I could go to New Document, right? Oops. Let's try that again. I wouldn't save it and just add a graph. And again, I can just, the quick way is to hit delete right there, go down to relation, or I can hit menu and do it that way. Okay, but what we want to do is we just want to enter in our next two equations. So 3x minus 2y is greater than -4. So 3x minus 2y is Control equals greater than or equal to -4. Yes, -4. Okay, now I can hit enter, but then what I'm going to have to do is hit Control G or hit menu entry edit to get back there. So what I could have done is just from here press down, and then it would have graphed that one, and now I can choose to graph the next one. So x plus y is also greater than or equal to -3. Oh, the other one was just greater than, huh? Great, I can fix that. Greater than or equal to, was it -3? Sorry, got distracted. This one was actually just greater than. Glad we caught that mistake. There we go. All right, now I can see that we've got quite a few different zones going on here, right? So first thing to notice is this white zone over here, okay, which has no shading. So it is not a solution to anything. Now what I'm looking for is this overlapping shaded area, this kind of purpley looking one, right? Because red and blue make purple, so that's why the color changes. That tells you this is where both of my inequalities have solutions, which is the solution to my inequalities, my system of inequalities, okay? This is what I'm looking for, this zone where they're both shaded. Now there's two other shaded areas. This red just represents just a solution to the red, the blue just a solution to the blue, but it's this overlapping shaded area. That's what I'm looking for. Okay? And there's my answer. All right. Now, if I just don't erase, but just keep going, let me show you what happens there. So y is less than negative x plus 3. So y is less than negative x plus 3, right? Yes. Okay. If I do that, okay, it starts to make things a little harder to see. And if I want to move these, it's kind of hard, but I can hover over it and then hold down, and I can move these out of the way, okay, if I need to. But it's always a good idea to go up and to delete these previous ones, because then it just cleans up your window, okay? But I can keep hitting down, and it'll give me different colors, and I can type in my next one. Y is greater than or equal to 3/2 x. Y is greater than or equal to, fraction again, 3/2 x minus 2. Minus 2. Okay, I hit enter, and now again we can see that we've got, again, the white area that's no solution, the just purple area that's a solution to just one, the just black area that's a solution to the black one. Notice I've also got a dotted line and a solid line, and then the overlapping area. Okay, now the thing to remember is the solid line is part of the solution. So the solid line down here below the black part is part of my solution. Okay, the dotted line over here is not part of my solution. So the point where they intersect is not a solution to graphing a system of inequalities. It's this area that's overlapped, and it's the overlapped lines that are solid as well. Okay, now if they were both solid lines, let's say that going down here, this one was also less than or equal to, okay, then that intersection point would actually be part of the solution, okay? So you've got to pay attention to that as well. All right, so that's how we graph the inequalities, okay? So again, let's go a new document. I don't know why this does that to me. Okay, number 2. Anytime you have a menu, you can also just press the number, so like number 3 and then number 2, and that'll get you the stuff. Sometimes that's easier than using the touchpad up here, okay? All right, so there we go. That's how we do that. Now let's take a look at solving systems of equations, okay, by graphing. Now, there are algebraic ways you can do this, right? Substitution and elimination. We're not talking about those in this video, though, but there is that option. Instead, we're just going to graph them. So all we do is we start off by graphing them, okay? That's what we're going to do. So y equals 4x minus 3. 4x minus 3. Hit enter if I want to, and there's my first equation. But if I didn't, Control G will bring me back up here, and I can just type in my next one. So y equals negative x plus 2. So y equals negative x plus 2. Make sure I got those right. Hit enter. Okay. Now what I'm, Control Escape will back that up. Now what I'm doing is just looking where they intersect. Now if I wanted to, again, I could hit menu, go to view, number 2, number 6 grid, and choose that line grid or dot grid and try to guess. Right here it's pretty easy to see that it's 1, 1. Okay. However, the calculator can also do the hard work for me. So if I go menu and I go down to analyze graph, because I'm trying to figure out what's going on here, hit enter, and notice number 4 says intersection point. So the calculator will actually tell me exactly what the intersection point, which is great when we have ones that don't manage to be easy answers, easy points. Okay, but I've got to kind of tell the calculator where I want it to look. This lower bound, see that word on the bottom left corner? Okay, so I go to the left, I click once, then I start scrolling to the right. Notice that as soon as I get to that intersection, the calculator is telling me, hey, that's where it's happening. So I'm kind of telling the calculator, hey, it's this interval that I'm checking, So I click enter again, and we can see exactly what we've got going on there. Okay, so my answer is 1, 1. Remember, when we're dealing with graphing a system of equations, the solution is a point, right? So just to kind of remind ourselves, the answer to graphing a linear inequality is the graph, and it's that shaded zone, right? When I'm doing a system of inequalities, it's the two graphs together, and it's where they're both shaded. Okay, so again, it's a zone, a shaded zone. But when I deal with answers for a system of equations, we're looking for that point where they intersect, where they're the same. Okay, just like a system of inequalities, it's where they're the same shaded or overlapping. System of equations, it's where it's the same, which is where they intersect. Okay, that's all we do. Now here's a cool thing. If we've already started, okay, I can just go Control G, and if I don't write a new relation but go back and I erase one and write one, okay, so x minus 3y equals negative 12, x minus 3y equals negative 12, then press down, then erase this one and do x plus 3y equals 6, and hit enter. Oh, generally, sometimes if you do it that way, it'll keep the intersection point, but maybe because it's in a different zone, it doesn't work, which is great because then I can show you how to find it again. I go Menu, number 6, Analyze Graph, down to Intersection, scooch it to one side, click, scooch it to the other side, click, and now we've got our answer of negative 3, 3. Okay? So, kind of a cool, easy to use tool that we've got there. All right? So, that's how we find that one as well as that one. Now let's do this next one. Even if your equations look super ugly like this equation is, both of them are really ugly, all we have to do is type it in. This is the really nice part about it. So Menu, Graph Entry, Edit if I need to, Relation, and that's why we can use this Relation button, because it makes it super easy when we're typing stuff in, okay? Because we can type it in, as long as it's an equation, we can type it in anyway. So 0 equals negative 3x minus 6 plus 2y minus 6 plus 2y, okay? Press down, there's my first one. Now, if I really wanted to, I could put this into that function notation format by subtracting the 2y and getting negative 2y equals negative 3x minus 6 divided by negative 2, and y would equal positive 3 halves x plus 6 minus, or divided by negative 2, be a positive 3. And then that y could change to f of x. So if I wanted to, I could put this in that slope-intercept form and do a function. Okay, sometimes there's some extra things you can do with that, but for what we're doing, we don't really need to. Okay, so now my second equation, 0 equals 3 minus y. 0 equals 3 minus y plus 3 halves x plus 3 halves x. Hit enter. Now, what do we notice happened here? Let me move these out of the way. Okay. Well, what happened was, oops, wrong way. Okay. If I unclick those, we can see I've got the same line, don't I? Okay. So this is a special case that happens because sometimes you get the same line, okay? And that's okay. So the question is, what's my answer? Well, they overlap, which means they're always touching, which means they're always intersecting. So this is a special case that we call infinite solutions because it's always intersecting. Whatever number works for one works for the other. Because essentially what we have here is we've got the same equation, okay? That's really what it comes down to. And if I went and, what was that, 3? If I went and I adjusted this one by adding y, get y equals 3 plus 3 halves x, and then rearrange it, we see that it's the same equation, okay? And that's typically what happens. It's just sometimes we can adjust equations, but they're still the same thing. So when you see that they're the same number, that means there's infinite solutions, okay? And there's a video up on the playlist if you want to have more questions about that you can watch where I explain that, but I was going to show you what it looks like on there. Okay, now let's graph the next one. Okay, so again, if I don't like messing or if things get too ugly, I can actually add another page if I hit Control Dock, and I could add another graph, and then I could kind of start over if I really wanted to do it that way. Okay, that's always an option too. Because it's a calculator, you can have as many documents open as you want. So, negative 5x plus 4y, negative 5x plus 4y, minus 12 equals 0. Minus 12 equals 0. Okay, something to pay attention to is don't mix up the negatives and the minus, because what happens is this. See right here? It's not minus 12, it's multiplying by a negative 12. So that will definitely screw up your answer, as we can see. So you got to make sure things are written in correctly. Okay? All right. Now we do the second equation. Y equals 4y minus 5x, or 0, equals 4y minus x, right? Minus 5x minus 16. Minus 16 minus 5x. Hit enter. Okay, now here's another special case. Because if we look at these ones, what we see is that they're parallel, aren't they? Okay, they're never going to intersect. Okay, and if they never intersect, it means there's no answer. Okay, so in this case, when they're parallel, it means there's no solution. There's no intersection point. They're never the same, never going to cross, never going to meet. This was the same line, right, for infinite. So you either have one solution where it's a point where they intersect, infinite solutions when it's the same lines that overlap, and if they're parallel, no solution, okay? So that's all we can do there. And that's the other special case that we have, okay? Now, let's take a look at this last one. X minus, so I can hit Control G, go up here, erase a 1, do x minus y equals negative 2, x minus y equals negative 2, press down, swap this guy out, and we get negative y minus 5x, so negative y minus 5x minus 4 equals 0. So again, we can see, doesn't matter how ugly our equation is, this calculator can graph it, which is why it's a great tool to use. Okay, then I go Menu, Analyze Graph, because I want to find out where they intersect. Scroll to the left, click, scroll to the right, click, and we see our answer as negative 1, 1. Okay? All right, now, if we, let's say, for example, let me do this. Let's kind of just change this. Or maybe now I can't grab it, can I? I can easily do it accidentally. Okay, now let's say you see something like this, and you can't see where they intersect. Okay, does that mean they are parallel? Well, you kind of have to judge. If I look at this, I should be able to recognize these are not parallel. So if I need to adjust my window, I can go Menu, Window Zoom, and there's a lot of options here. I could just try to hit Zoom Out. Okay, and I just zoom out as far as I need to. Okay, but sometimes that's hard to see what's going on, and sometimes we don't really want to have our window look like that. Okay, maybe things are quite a bit different, and I don't need a bunch of the space. Okay, but again, here, I can easily go Menu, number 6, Analyze, Intersection, click on one side, click on the other side, and I get my answer. Okay, but I could also go Menu, Window Zoom, and I can choose number 1, Window Settings, and I could actually adjust. The x max is how min is how far left you go. The x max is how far right you go. The x scale is your tick marks. If it does it by auto, generally it's by tenths, but if I wanted to count by fives, I could tell it to. Again, I can adjust my window as needed to fix my window so I can see things better, because sometimes maybe that's how I need to see it and understand it. Okay, so those are some basics about graphing. That's how we graph systems of equations, systems of inequalities, and just a regular linear inequality. And again, that's how you use the calculator to do that, okay? All right, guys.